Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the It's Pizza Time podcast. I'm your host, Indigo, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Victor.
What's good, guys?
My co-host, John, is on the way, and our special guest, Madnap.
What's up? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, pleasure having you. So I'm gonna start with the precursor question.
Oh,
Your favorite kind of pizza? What is it? Go.
it's a great question. I'm just a margarita guy, honestly. I stopped eating meat a few years ago. Maybe at that time I would have said pepperoni or something, but I love a good margarita.
Or you like margarita as in just cheese, or like the tomato sauce with like the white, like, what is it? Ricotta? No, the mozzarella like circles on it.
Yeah, I like with the mozzarella circles and like some basil for sure. Like a good, you can't go wrong with a cheese pizza.
Yeah, good classic Italian.
Yeah, I feel like that's right, up there on the same level, but I definitely prefer, those two to like some kind of like white pizza with no sauce and all that stuff.
Oh yeah. Uh, like I don't understand like the a big part of the pizza is like the sauce. If you take that away from it, it's what is it now? It's just
Bread and cheese.
yeah, it's just a sandwich.
Have you ever had Detroit style pizza?
Detroit style? What's
So, yeah, I was talking to some people about this a few days ago, and I was like, "What is Detroit pizza? I've never heard of it." But I looked it up and I saw a picture of it, and I've actually had it before.
that? Oh my God!
I'm checking it right
You're gonna tell me that I've like eaten whatever this is for like a long time, and then I have no idea what it is.
You
Like,
got to see a photo of it. It's almost like a pizza bread, I feel like.
all right,
now.
for the
Square,
people
yeah.
using YouTube, people watching us on YouTube, it's gonna be on the screen or something like right here, something like that.
Detroit style.
Yeah, all
We've
right.
probably had this, Loki. Yeah. It looks like something I've definitely had before.
Or what is it? Describe it. Describe it
It's like
for
a square pizza.
Yeah, it's like with like rounded corners, and it's like a little bit thick.
Yeah.
And I haven't like had this in Detroit or anything, mind you. I've never been to Detroit, but I feel like I've also had that type of pizza at some point.
Right. The actual description of it is Detroit style pizza is rectangular, thick, crispy crust, and is traditionally topped with Wisconsin brick cheese.
Ooh, that sounds actually kind of good.
Right.
Anyway, like Wisconsin is like known for its cheese.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, like now we got that out of the way. Why don't you go ahead and quickly, for everybody out there who doesn't know who you are yet, introduce yourself real quick. Like, who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is Madnap. I am an electronic artist. Um, I recently kind of announced that I do have, my first ever album coming out soon. Been doing music for a few years, just kind of developing my sound, having fun, doing singles and things like that. Yeah, I stream a little bit. As of like a few weeks ago, as everyone does now that we're in quarantine. And other than that, I just make songs. I like playing shows. Typical.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, typical but good. Good description. All right. What, Victor? What do you think we should go in first? Like, do you want to maybe see like
Okay.
where? Wait, do you have
I
do you have an idea?
I actually do have a question because I love the song Faces, and I do want to hear how that kind of came about.
Yeah, definitely. So I had a session booked with Luma and her friend Notel. They kind of like they write kind of as a duo. And they were having a trip in LA, just like a little writing trip session, booking with a ton of different people. So we got a date scheduled, and I had this like little beat from like probably the previous like 1 or 2 weeks, just like one of the various little simple ideas I make. I'm pretty sure it was just that beginning like pluck sound that kind of plays before the verse starts. I'm pretty sure it was just that. And I was playing Luma and her friend a few things that we could potentially go off of, and they really liked that, thought they could, write well over it. So we basically just sat in my room for a few hours, and I kind of like produced out the whole track, and they wrote all of the lyrics and their whole part. We didn't record then. I think they recorded it back home in Tennessee and then sent it over to me. But yeah, it was really fun. I had a very simple idea, and then we just kind of got in the room together and finished it all out.
Awesome. Like, I mean, that sounds pretty fucking rad, actually. That,
It was really fun, yeah.
yeah, to be able to do it like that quickly too. That's like pretty surprising.
Right. Yeah, I've had a lot of sessions, especially a lot of first sessions that, don't really turn into anything that actually gets heard by the world. It's just more of a introduction between the two of you.
Yeah,
But we really clicked right there and just did the whole thing on the spot.
that's pretty dope. Um, what I like, I mean, from what I could tell, like your style is super strange, like not strange, super unique as well,
Mm.
like compared to anything else I've heard. So it's like fucking man, I don't know where I'm going with this. Like this is exactly why this show exists. Like I don't none of us know what we're talking about. um so let's go like to one of these questions that I give most people. It's like where did you know that you wanted to do stuff like this? Like how did you get, interested? How'd you get like invested into like doing this? Oh, there goes.
Yeah. Oh, Victor.
Oh yeah, his internet died. We're fine. He's coming back.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure he'll hop back in. I'll just go in on the question.
Yeah.
Um, I always loved, music. There was no question about that, and that I wanted to do something involving music. I started out like playing various instruments and like band and stuff, and when I picked up guitar, it really clicked with me. So I kind of saw that as like, something I was going to do long term. And then I heard Skrillex. And I had already been kind of into electronic music because of like Pendulum, Justice, like Daft Punk. I was very into like that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
especially since like I was coming from a guitar player world, and they were a little bit more like bands, like especially Pendulum. So I could like grasp it a bit better. It wasn't like just jumping right into like techno or something.
Yeah.
Because I definitely wouldn't have liked it at the time, just like being a guitar player. But I kind of like, you know, fused over through those like mostly like French and like British acts. Um, and then Skrillex just kind of like completely opened my eyes to like, what was possible with electronic music. And I know I don't make that type of music or
Yeah,
anything.
I
That's
was
kind of
gonna say that's like, very different from the stuff that you make.
right. And it's a funny story because I started out because of that. And I started out wanting to make dubstep just like him. Like shortly after I discovered his music, I probably within the next year, I started DJing and producing at the same time. And I didn't take it seriously or anything. It was more just for fun. I just had a blast, while I was in high school, just messing around with that stuff. But yeah, I was trying to make all, crazy electro house and dubstep, and it took me a while to realize that, that just wasn't me.
Yeah, you just like kind of went for the. It's more like you had the idea that you wanted to make it because it sounds cool, but you just like melodic stuff, I guess, just rolled out of your head easier.
Exactly. Yeah, and I love that music more than anything in the world. I still do. And I just remember that whole time of like I was really just an Owsla fanboy at the time. Like I would listen to every Owsla release on the day it came out. I even had this like paid subscription where you could listen to the real remixes or releases like the day before it came out. So
Ooh.
like back then listening to like M Machine and Porter Spitfire EP and Zed and Dylan Francis, like when all that stuff was bubbling, like that's what really grew like my love for electronic music beyond just like Daft Punk and Justice and the stuff I was into before.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, like that's actually really cool, and then it's like you actually had some pretty cool opportunities, like as far as I could tell, like even at the very like start of stuff. Like I mean, the first like you and I have talked about this before, like personally,
Mhm.
but like the first thing I remember hearing of you was your remix for like Pegboard Nerds, like
Right.
way back when. So it's like, how did that stuff come around to happening?
Yeah, a lot of stuff just happens, randomly. You can never predict anything, especially in electronic music. And when the Pegboard Nerds remix came along, I had never put anything on Spotify before. I had never like done anything beyond just like posting beats on SoundCloud. Had like no following or anything really. Um, but someone who, did believe in me back then and did like my music happens to be their manager at the time. Um, and he hit me up to kind of be a part of that and release on Monster Cat, which was really crazy for me, having listened to Monster Cat for many years before. And, I was still very much learning at the time. I mean, I still am now, but it just kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, like would you say that was like a really big stepping stone in like where you are now, or do you think like you probably would have gotten here even if that yeah we would have gotten to where you were even if it weren't like even if that didn't happen?
Yeah, I think I still would have gotten here regardless. The remix didn't necessarily like blow up or anything, but yeah, it did help to kind of bring me kind of to just that next phase,
Yeah.
and just keep things moving ahead rather than just, staying at my same level of making SoundCloud beats and stuff. Like, oh, I did an official like label release with Monster Cat, and now the Pegboard Nerds know who I am, which was really crazy too. So it was definitely it was an important step to take, whether it was, life changing or not.
Yeah. I mean, that definitely was like a really cool way to like cool thing like that you managed to that you were lucky enough to have like their manager as a fan. Like
Right.
that's I mean, that was pretty cool. So, where
Yeah, I was really nervous. I remember they let me pick any song off the EP to remix, and I tried a different one and it just wasn't working. I couldn't come up with anything good, and I was really nervous to ask to switch songs, but I did and switched to Pink Clouds, and I'm really glad I did.
I mean, as far as I could say, like it sounds pretty damn great. It's like one of my favorites on that entire remix EP, and it's like
Thank you.
yeah, which there's like 20 something remixes on that,
Yeah, there's a lot.
which is a lot, you know, for a remix EP.
Yeah,
But
I'm still happy with it to this day. I really am.
yeah, I mean, it still like holds your style. Like you could still tell it's you,
Right.
which
For
is
sure.
really cool.
It is.
Yeah. Now I guess to go a little further down the line, how did stuff get how did you manage to get like into the entire Thrive group? Like how did you manage to get on there? Like, you know. Or actually first,
Yeah.
how'd you get with
Mm.
Cardinal? Like
Okay, that's a great story. Um, so with Cardinal, I met my manager Justin. And Justin was not a part of Cardinal. He had no affiliation with Cardinal. I just met this random kid. Um, I met him at like a moving castle event, and we were just talking about back, and he was telling me like, "Oh, I can get you booked for a festival," and I was just like, "Yeah, man, whatever." Um, did throw like some little shows and stuff. So he was throwing a show with his act Joy Zoo at the time, and he threw me on it. And yeah, it was a really good show. Um, and I started kind of hanging out with Justin a bit more. And Justin is he's a bit younger than me, and especially at the time, he had no experience at all. Like my first impression of him was just that he was all talk and like no actual game. But something I realized was that like I had never met someone with that amount of just like passion and drive that he had before, and just like the way he talked and the confidence he had, even though he had no swag at all. He was literally just some random kid. But I just saw something, yeah, really special in him that I almost can't even describe. So I decided to take a little bit of a risk, picking someone younger than me with less experience than a lot of people. And I asked him to be my manager. So me and Justin started working together. He had a few other artists, but it was basically just DIY, just, the two of us, no Cardinal or anything. And then Justin started interning for Cardinal artists. This is probably like 3 years ago now. And I didn't know much about the situation. He was just telling me, oh, I'm going to be the intern for Vincent and Quicks. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so insane. I remember we like drove up to this show in like Berkeley. We drove like 7 hours just like to meet Vincent potentially and like talk to him. We were so like stoked. And we did meet Vincent and became friends with him there. But, Justin and the head of Cardinal Artist, who at the time was the only person manager in Cardinal Artist, Mark, they kind of got really close and started, building out their relationship more. And it went beyond Justin just being an intern for Cardinal, and he actually kind of like joined the management roster as the second manager on Cardinal. So when he joined, I also joined with him. So we were kind of like a package deal,
Right.
and we hopped on together. And that's when Mark became my second manager. So now the two of them kind of tag team it.
I mean, that's awesome. Like
That's sick. Yeah.
that's a really cool actual, origin story. Like it kind of goes to show, like that if you give like anybody I mean, it goes to show that like you can don't necessarily like assume that something's not going to work out. Like you just took the chance and believed in Justin, like, and it just kind of ended into the this pretty cool thing. So
it's a really cool story, yeah. And I think working with your friends is so important, and I'm so happy that I have that foundation of like working with one of my best friends instead of just some no shade, but like some old industry head that's been around forever and I can blow you up. And I've seen that go south so many times. So I'd rather just be part of a DIY movement with my friends and come up together.
yeah,
Right.
because like I mean, doing stuff with like starting like work with your friends is like it's a really good thing to do. I mean, because it's kind of like inevitable that you're going to like eventually disagree on one thing, but it's like because you're friends, you're going to like get over that. You're not. It's not gonna be
It's
something
so
that,
true.
It's not something that's gonna stick with it and like it's just gonna be there forever. It's not something that could like ruin the friendship usually. So,
Right. Oh, of course. Yeah, we definitely have our disagreements too, and that's mainly just because like we're both so passionate. Like if you said anything to me about my music or like, a potential release or anything, like I'm going to be like very passionate about it, and he's the same way. So
which is
you just
honestly
got to
like
keep
a
in
really
mind that we both have the best, interest at heart for the both of us.
yeah. That's I mean that's a really good way to look at it. Like you don't get pushed around easily. That's really like a really good trait to have, I guess.
Right.
Shout out to Justin for sure. He's such a nice guy.
Justin, if
Huge
you're
shout
listening
out.
this, yeah, hi.
What's up?
So John's back. John, you there? Or not? Maybe he's gone.
Yeah,
oh no,
what's up?
there he is. All right, yay! Oh man, he's finally back. For everybody listening, John's been gone technically for a week. For us, it's been like an hour.
I had some graduation shoot. Somebody needs some photos and that, and it took longer than I expected. My bad.
All right, it's all good, man.
How's it going
right now
with all you guys?
It's going great. It's going great. Yeah, we're recording an episode. It's going well.
That's pretty good.
All right. So I guess past Cardinal, how did it work with Thrive? Like how did that come about?
Right. Yeah, that happened pretty shortly after. That was kind of, it almost leaves off on where I left off with the Cardinal story, because when Mark hopped on the project, the three of us all had a meeting and we were like, oh, what's the next step? Um, like, what can we do to really take this to the next level? And, Mark has a lot of experience, and he really thought that getting a label on our side could be a good move. And it was something that I had never really had before. I had done one-off releases with Moving Castle and Monster Cat, but, never more than like one song.
Yeah.
Um, so we started kind of looking around at options, seeing who was interested and who we were interested in. And the cool thing about Thrive is that they were super interested. Like, we got a lot of interest coming from them. And it was cool to see, you know, someone who, by someone I mean like the team there, someone who just really believed in me and got it, and wanted me to maintain creative freedom. So we kind of did 2019 as, and it was more than a test run, but we did those 4 singles in 2019 to kind of get the
Yeah.
ball rolling and see if we wanted to continue from there. um, and it went really well, and I really like
Yeah.
my team there. So that's when we decided, I mean, this is getting all the way up to 2020, to kind of continue it on from there and do the album there as well.
Yeah, I mean, like those singles too were like top tier, like Madnap material. That's like,
Thank you. Yeah, those singles were very like, they're very much like a fresh start. Kind of just like beginning the whole Thrive area. And yeah, I agree. Each one, like, I think, could have been a hit. They were
Oh,
all
for sure.
oh yeah,
they're all honestly very different from the album. Whereas I'm taking a bit more risks and like doing random things now. Each one of those was like stellar top line, stellar catchy drop. Like, that was just me going all out, like the best singles I could possibly do, which was really fun.
yeah. I mean, like I could tell you also got to work with like some pretty cool people on those. Which, I mean, like for like me, I'm a pretty big fan of like Smile,
Mm.
and like hearing that track was like really great. I remember like when we like first actually, not first met, but like first actually had like first hung out. Like
Hmm.
it was like those like just after I think Throw It All Away came out, which was like you really seemed excited for some stuff. I remember like you showed me Austin Kramer used it in one of his
Oh yeah.
Instagram stories, and you were like freaking out.
Yep. Oh yeah, you were there when that happened.
Yeah, we were going to Whole Foods and getting pizza.
So crazy.
Yeah, I mean, kind of also like puts it in perspective, just like where you're at now. And
Mm.
it is just like it. Fuck it, I don't know. Victor, save me. Say something. I'm
Yes.
rambling.
Okay. It's super cool to like see where you came from, especially because we've got to meet you like a year ago, and then again having us do this shit now. I think you're definitely one of the bigger inspirations for it,
Mm.
and you kind of like started the ball moving for shit.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, and I'm really happy for you guys too. Like, I see a lot of the passion in you guys that I've seen in, young me and Justin, for example. So I'm really glad you're running with it and doing something really cool.
Hell yeah. In terms of music too, like I'm making stuff, I'm not putting anything out. Definitely one of my musical inspirations for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like really cool. I mean, it's now like part of the reason like I started this whole like podcast was like kind of because of like the fact that like we got to like meet you and like chill out and just like hang.
Right.
I said chill out and hang. I should have said hang out and chill. That made more sense. Anyway, but yeah, I wanted to do that because like I feel like it's also really important. I felt like it was also really important for this show to be kind of uh, being about showing the person rather than the material, because
Right.
you always have like interviews that are like talking exclusively about like the new release or exclusively about the album, but you never really get
Right.
to,
They're like promotional.
yeah, but you never
Exactly.
really get to sit
Yeah.
down and learn learn really who the person is.
Right.
So
Uh,
outside of or during quarantine, how have you been dealing with it? Of course, you've been doing some stream and releases on, or not releases, but again, festival stuff.
Mm. Yeah, I think the biggest thing keeping me sane is it's not even music related. It's just that my parents don't live too far away, so I can kind of hop back and forth between my place and their place and not come into contact with any more people. And having that like changing scenery around me every like few days, I feel like is keeping me from feeling like I'm like too locked up or isolated.
Right.
Kind of like
yeah.
having like interactions, like social life.
Yeah,
Kind of like
and
people around you.
kind of. I mean, I don't have people around me really. It's just kind of like my parents and my brother. But
Right.
yeah,
Oh.
I think of like a, just a change in environment too.
For sure.
Also, just like I guess being on Discord with my friends a lot is really great because I feel like I'm seeing them just as much as ever, even though I'm not actually seeing them.
Right.
Yeah.
Talk about that wine club stuff.
Yeah, we
Oh,
talked
it's
about that.
great.
Yeah, we talked about that with Brandon, like a little bit, or DNZ for the people who aren't on a first name basis. But yeah, we talked about like your little how like you guys have been getting close, I guess, through like these Discord things. I feel like you guys are the prime example of like the perfect way to use your time in quarantine. Because I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of people like you could kind of also gauge like who your real friends are by like during this, because you can see like who actually makes the effort to
For sure.
keep in contact with you and just like do shit.
So
'Cause,
true.
yeah, it's like I mean obviously I keep in touch with Victor and John because we're doing this, but it's like there's just some people that like I haven't managed to talk to, and it's just like I realize, hey, we're actually not that like good of friends to begin with, like, so
Right. Yeah, it's good to have people that you just know, like you've got their back and they've got your back no matter what, even if it's a, worldwide pandemic, still want to talk to each other.
hell yeah. You got us at your disposal, man. Just know
For
that.
sure.
We out here.
Yeah, you have a pizza guy on your side.
That's all I need.
Truly. All right. Okay. So you've been getting into streaming a lot lately.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. So like obviously, I mean, you probably started it because like I really can't say for sure, but I'm assuming you probably started it because of like the fact that you needed something to do during quarantine and everybody else was, streaming. So like why I guess like what has been like probably the best outcome, like I guess that you've had from it, like good responses mostly, or
Yeah, it's been pretty cool. I'm only a few weeks in, and yeah, I would say that kind of the current situation is why I'm doing it. It's not even that I have to do it because I don't really, a lot of people have turned to Twitch because like they can't tour anymore. But
yeah,
I don't tour in the first place, so it's not like I
you don't tour
have
yet.
to. Yeah,
Yeah, you don't tour
exactly.
yet.
I don't tour yet. Um, so it's not like I have to like move that somewhere else, but it's like let's say like who's doing online like shows right now, like Boombox Cartel. They're doing like sick online sets. You know, it makes sense that like like they can't tour anymore. Do your whole setup like online. But I'm in a situation where like I can do that too, and I didn't have to be touring already to be able to do this. The point of entry is exactly the same for someone who wasn't touring as someone is um who was touring. So I just saw it as an opportunity, like, oh yeah, like, well, I can do this too, and I could have just as much of an impact as one of those people. And kind of as we were talking about before we started, recording the podcast, just the community aspect of it has been really cool. And seeing, I don't have a lot of viewers on there yet, but seeing the few people that do pop up kind of every time and look forward to it, is really cool. And it's something I never really thought I'd even have.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty neat. Like, anytime that I've like gone in and checked out your stream, it's always like I see like the same. I see like pretty like I see like a couple names that just are always there,
Consistent,
like every
yeah.
time. Yeah.
Right, which is really cool. Yeah, because it's not even the same names I recognize from like
Yeah.
Twitter and Instagram and stuff, which
Yeah.
is cool.
Shout out to Madnap's Twitch subs.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
When's the next stream?
My next stream will probably be next Tuesday. But I'm playing an online show tonight. Not for the viewers out there because you're hearing this on a different day.
Yeah.
But won't be on my Twitch, but doing an online event tonight. So I feel like I'm doing so many of them. It's been like one a week. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Has it been enjoyable?
It has been enjoyable. I won't lie though, it's been a ton of work. It's just been like, I'm not used to having this many like offers come in for shows, quote unquote. Because with actual shows, it's a lot harder. You got to get out somewhere. There's money and stuff involved. And for the online show offers, it's almost just like, oh well, why would I say no? Like I can throw a set together and like there's no downside.
Right.
As long as I just
Yeah.
like do some work and make it happen. So I've been like doing some work and making it happen like almost every
Yeah.
week, which has been cool though because I'm just like constantly learning on how to like improve my sets. And I am going to start getting a little bit more picky and doing less of them just to make each one that I actually do more special and more of something that you're going to remember after seeing it.
Yeah. I mean, like, you've also been getting a lot of cool opportunities by doing all of these, which is definitely cool.
Right.
I mean, like, Blockly was definitely, like, a really cool
Yeah.
one. Like, it was interesting. But, like,
Yeah, Blockly was so interesting, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's cool to see, like, they're now taking, like, Minecraft as a platform. Because,
Mhm.
I mean, it was also nice to see one that was fairly well executed.
Yeah, very well executed.
Yeah, because like, because I know that like, I know Disciple has done like, their like block parties or whatever, but I think I remember like logging in to join one, and they were like pretty much, there were like technical difficulties, one of them for like the entire day, so they had to push everything back. So it was kind of nice to see that this one like ran pretty smoothly, like without any.
Yeah, it was really random, but I had a great time.
Totally. I mean, yeah, it was pretty rad. Fucking, I am going brain dead right now. I don't know what to talk about. I run a show. What am I doing? All right.
Maybe let's talk about performing in LA and like maybe what your favorite venues are and stuff like that, or maybe some shows that you've been to that are very inspiring.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've definitely been around LA a bit as far as shows go. I would say my favorite is probably just the Roxy. Mainly because I've just done it so many times. I think I've done Roxy like 4 times, which is really crazy, but it's just kind of like a recurring like event now, like almost every year.
Right.
Which has been really cool. I think I could probably list off the years. First year was M Machine, second year was Phantoms, third year was Drulu, fourth year was Vincent. So literally 4 years in a row.
I went to those last 2 ones. Those are probably like I still have like vivid memories of those shows because they were like really good.
Yeah, so much fun.
Yeah.
So that's a big standout for me.
I mean, the last one, the Vincent one, I remember that because I was actually like absurdly sick, but I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna support the boy. And I left after I think a little bit into Melv's set because I was just like, I cannot stay out any longer. But I was like, it definitely was worth being there.
I feel that.
All right, let's talk the room.
The room.
All right. Uh, now, for the people out there listening, we invited, or I guess I invited. It was Victor's time as well. Victor's first time as well. So I invited, Manap and Victor to a screening of this movie called The Room, which is an absolutely terrible film, but it's amazing because it's terrible. That's like the entire point. Go ahead and watch it if you haven't. So that was probably like also one of the things that became like that I guess got us closer as friends. I'd say a little bit because
Yeah.
it was more like just hanging out like as as part of the boys.
No boys.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
Yeah. Like what was like I remember like what was your reaction to that? Like how did you feel like going in there? Like not really knowing what to expect.
I was pretty shocked, to be honest. Like, I really didn't know what I was getting myself into, and of course, I had heard of The Room before, but like Victor, I hadn't seen it yet,
Right.
and I'm really actually glad that I saw it in that environment. I'm very glad because if I just watched it at home or something, I don't think I would have found all those little, bad lines and flaws in the movie as funny as it was when the whole room was pointing out every single little, recurring flaw or stupid line or whatever they were pointing out. So it was a crazy experience, but I'm very glad I had it.
Right. Yeah, like for my first time we went together, I was so surprised with like the spoon throwing and like everybody has everything timed or they just know when it's gonna happen. And just to see like everybody actually do it at the same time, it was just like it was really cool to see. Now again, I hate the movie because it's so bad and it's cringy watching it, but it was a lot of fun.
It was also crazy for me sitting next to Marco, and Marco was very wholesome from everything I know to this day, and just
Yeah.
sitting next to Marco and just hearing him scream at the top of his lungs, "Flood!" was crazy.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. It's like besides shows that is like my element. I could just like completely let loose and just know that it's like perfectly fine. Nobody's gonna judge
I
me
was
for
like,
it.
"Oh my gosh!" Like,
Yeah, I like it. There's a good shock factor with it, but it's like not a bad kind of shock factor. It's not like oh gross or like oh Jesus, but it's more like man, I didn't expect that. That was kind of funny.
yeah, it was just like I didn't know that this happens, and like that the room had this like I don't know this cult following. Really,
Right.
it felt like I was in a simulation.
Oh
Right.
yeah. But it's like seeing for me, like as someone who's like been to that movie by at this point like so many months, I've almost lost count. But like for me seeing like your guys' first reaction is always like is like another reason why I continue to or why I continue to go, or at least when quarantine isn't happening. But
All right.
because it's like I just love seeing the people's first time like just whoa, that's a little what.
Right.
Yeah, it's also a lot of fun, like especially if you go as a group like we did.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, because it's like go. I can't imagine like how those people who go in there expecting something else. Like they don't come with anybody who knows what's going on or like they've never heard of the movie before. They just think it's like just a normal movie. Because like I've seen
Yeah,
those people
I'd be
too.
very shocked.
Yeah,
I was still shocked.
yeah. I mean, I've seen like I saw once like an elderly couple just come in like assuming that it was gonna be like a nice little film, and
Nope.
like there was like horror in their eyes, and I felt bad. It was just like, oh no.
Wrong place, wrong time.
Truly. Uh, all right. Now, Victor, do you have any? John, you haven't really said much. Do you have any? Do you have anything
What's
to
up?
ask?
I don't know. So I don't know if this has been asked already. So I was gonna say, where did you get your name, like Madnap, from? Like, how did you ever like
That
come with
hasn't
it?
been asked yet. Actually, that's a really good question.
Yeah, yeah. This was back around you know, when we were talking about earlier, when I like first discovered electronic music, and I like got my production software and DJ software and just like
Yeah.
dived right in. It's about like a year, maybe a year and a half after that, that I was like, okay, like I want to start like throwing some stuff on SoundCloud. And you know, it wasn't a whole like, oh, I'm starting my career. Like I didn't expect anything of it. But I wanted to start throwing stuff on SoundCloud, and I didn't want to use my actual name because it's really long and nerdy. So I knew I needed some kind of stage name, but I couldn't think of anything. Literally, I had the hardest time for like months trying to think of something cool. And this was back home in Illinois. One night I was out at this Mexican restaurant with some of my friends, I think like 3 of them. And we were all just like goofing around, and we were trying to come up with a name by like putting together 2 random words. So like we were using like dead mouse as a reference. It's just like one word. It's simple, but it combines like 2 different words.
Yeah, like adjective, noun. Just
Yeah, pretty much. So we were thinking of something like that, and one of my friends just out of nowhere he just said, "How about Madnap?" And it definitely was not an instant like, oh, that's it. It was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, next. And a few like months, I would say, went by, and I just couldn't think of anything different. It was kind of the only idea I had that was passable. So at the time, I just went for it, and I didn't expect it to, you know, turn into much. But at this point, many years later, it's just like, it's my name, and I'm so happy with it. And I think, you know, it's just literally become who I am. I can't imagine being called anything else.
So would you say like it kind of like grew on you more and more as time passed?
Yeah, it totally did. And I really like that it's just some, you know, made up word too. Like if you Google it, there's no other Madnap out there. It's one thing I really wanted was like a new word. So yeah, we kind of just created our own word, and yeah, the whole thing grew on me.
Yeah. Oh, Victor just texted
like
me.
right out there.
Victor's internet died again.
I'm sure I'll hop back in a sec.
Yeah, just give it a bit. I mean, the last text he just sent me, like, just read "fuck Spectrum." Yeah. Have you been getting like internet issues at all, like because of during quarantine or anything?
Not really. It's just not great when I'm at my parents' house. It's better when I'm at my place. So
there he is. All right.
Fuck Spectrum.
I have Spectrum.
Yeah.
What if Spectrum's listening right now?
Oh,
you guys gotta sponsor us, but you guys gotta give me a better connection for sure.
Oh, probably appreciate this. So I have AT&T. I think just like baseline, I don't know, AT&T, and my manager Mark called me to ask about some online event, and I needed an upload speed of 10 to do this online event. And I don't really know much about like speed test or like what a good like upload to download ratio is or any of that stuff. So he told me to run speed tests, and I didn't know the number I needed. I didn't know what my number meant or anything, but I ran speed tests, and my upload speed was like 450.
Jeez.
Like what is it, megabytes per second?
Yeah.
It was 450, and he started laughing. He was like, "Dude, there's no way. Like you're lying. That's not real. Like it's fake. Like run it again." So I ran it again, and it was like 530 or something. He was like, "That's impossible. It's literally impossible." So I ran it again, and it was like 530 again. And he was like, I don't believe you. Like, that's not possible. Like, ask Rob. I was on a call with Vincent at the time, so I asked him, and he was like, dude, like, that's unheard of.
Right.
And I kept running it, and I kept getting those same insane like upload speed times. So I don't know if like I'm secretly hacking and I didn't know it.
You just
I don't know if
overclocked everything.
I don't know if I'm actually overclocked. I don't know if numbers wrong, but like I ran a speed test on Google too, and it was like just as high. And all my friends were running theirs and they were like 9, 10,
Yeah, mine's
13.
like 10.
I think that's normal, but somehow I was like 550. I don't even know how.
It's probably your area because you're in like
Yeah.
LA
You're
downtown
in straight
area.
up like downtown. That's like
So-
a really good spot to be.
Of course, like our areas, we don't necessarily have like FiOS or anything, but I'm surprised that AT&T has that.
Yeah, it was just off the charts. It was crazy. I know that's a little tangent, but
Right, no, that's sick.
so
mean,
crazy.
Tangents
And-
are what the show lives on. So
Yeah, and then you
Sure.
mentioned before I died that you're originally from Illinois, right?
Yes.
Sick. I'm from Chicago.
Before you
I was
died.
born there, so
Nice.
fuck yeah, Illinois boys.
True. Yeah, shout out Illinois,
Dude.
shout out Chi-Town.
this call is 50% Illinois right now. That's
Oh, yeah.
crazy.
Illinois
Uh,
boys.
Yeah. How was like growing up over there? Like compared to, did we like touch on that compared to like LA or just compared to California in general?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really compare it too much because I didn't grow up here, but it was really chill. It was really nice. I lived there, all throughout first like 18 years. Um, it was just so chill. I'm not from like the city of Chicago or anything. I'm from like a forest suburb essentially. And yeah, it was just a really cool, chill place to grow up. Like I wasn't, even like going to shows or parties or anything crazy. I was basically just hanging out, like listening to electronic music and stuff. So yeah, it was really cool. I liked having the seasons, even though I didn't appreciate winter at the time. I'm kind of glad I grew up with it and
Oh yeah.
sure.
experienced it then, so I don't have to feel the need to experience it anymore now, and I don't feel the need to live somewhere cold now because I already got my share. But it was really cool for the time being.
Yeah, you get like a larger appreciation though for winter, like when you move from somewhere that has winter to here where the seasons don't exist.
Right. Yeah, you get a larger appreciation for that and also for not having that
Oh yeah, And
because
it's
that's
like,
great too.
yeah, it's kind of nice, uh, like I know that like I have friends in Sweden, like during like during the winter, they'll like send me a snap and they're like, it's snow day, and then they're like completely there's like snow like almost covering like the door like all the way up.
Oh yeah,
And
we
and
used
it's
to have
just like,
cold days where it's just too cold out. It's so cold out that like if you're waiting for the bus at your bus stop, your life would be in danger, so they have to cancel school.
Damn.
yeah, here we don't ever have that. We get nothing. There is absolutely nothing that could cancel us.
Actually,
The one time that I know,
Corona.
like, well, but like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
one other time that it was happening like was when like the fires were kind of
yeah, I was gonna say the ashes and yeah.
because it was like, I mean, I went to campus and like this was as soon as I got there they canceled class, which was absolutely like upsetting for me, but it was kind of hard to breathe. Like it was just everything stung and I was like, god damn it.
Yeah, and you can like see the ash in the air too. It's kind of fucked.
Yeah, it was like you could look down the street and it was like, this was in Santa Monica. You could like look down the street and it was like brown like fog.
Yeah,
Wow.
little
It was just
piles.
ash. It was
Yep.
it was spooky, man. It's like
I
something
remember-
straight out of a movie.
I remember going to one of my classrooms, and if you wiped your hand on the desk, you would pick up because like they left the windows open for the classrooms, and ash got in.
Oh no.
That's
Crazy.
Yeah, but that's like, I mean, instead, is that better than cold?
It
I don't know.
it is better. Well, cold sucks. I don't know. It's different but
Yeah.
similar.
It's definitely different. So
I hear it's like whenever stuff gets canceled, it's because it's like something super serious. It's like, like incredibly life threatening. Like I guess a snow day is more like, yeah, it's dangerous. Like I guess like if you stay out too long, but it's more like you can't really get inside. That's like the main issue, or people sometimes can't get outside.
Yep.
Yeah. Also driving though. Driving
Oh,
in
yeah,
those
driving is
conditions is
dangerous.
very unsafe. Like it really is
Yeah.
not safe for your life.
Yeah, but I mean, definitely. Here, it's like the only things that really prevent you from doing anything are like, well, we had fires, but it's also like super serious, like, you know, calls of like some kind of like some kind of like act of violence that is just like, you're not allowed to. It's probably not the best idea. It's just like fear stuff, which is
Yeah.
kind of sucks. It's like, it's like whenever there's like an email sent out that's like you should not come to school today. It's like you should be terrified. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
something
Right.
really bad is happening.
At least for our school back in the day, we'd get like bomb threats.
We got like one bomb threat, and I was like,
We had like
Yeah.
3 different bomb
Yikes.
threats once. Yeah.
Like a former student or something? Or
Yep.
someone?
Yep.
it was
Damn.
pretty
Crap.
bad. It was like it was definitely like not something you wanted to deal with, because now it's like you're on a snow day, you miss school and you're like, cool, I'll just go back there the next day. But then like when you go back there after something like that, like you're just kind
You're
of like,
sussed out.
yeah, you're like in a panic state. You're like, I don't know, man. It could be like at any time, like something could happen at any moment. It's like I have no idea.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, enough of this somber topic.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's move back to, I guess, music. What do you have planned for the future?
Yeah. Future.
Segues.
Yeah. from snow days to the future.
Right.
Yeah. Future is really exciting. I've got my first album coming out. This
Yes.
year. I don't have a date yet. Between Us is not done yet. But of course, a lot of it's done for me to announce it. So it's done enough for me to be comfortable announcing it and talking about it. And that is my only focus right now. I'm just currently working on kind of wrapping that up, making sure it's, everything that I have wanted it to be for the past, year or so. And it's all I can think about. It's been a really crazy process, craziest thing I've ever done in music yet.
I mean, I'm hyped.
I'm definitely excited. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think you're gonna release like a couple more singles for it first, or do you think you're just gonna like drop the whole thing?
I'm definitely gonna release some more singles. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know what they're gonna be too. I don't want to
Ooh.
say, I don't want any spoilers, but
Yeah,
yeah,
of
there
course.
will be some more singles, definitely.
Definitely not gonna get into some trouble with some legal troubles for talking about stuff that we shouldn't. So, yeah, but totally, like I'm super stoked because as far as I know, you haven't really released much other than singles. Like you had like the
Right.
Seasons EP,
Right.
Mhm.
but you have never dropped like a full-fledged album. So
It's true. Yeah.
this is definitely
Yeah,
like
I
a
could
cool
talk
thing to
about that
see.
topic forever, but just to say something on it, I feel like there's so much pressure in, making an album when, you do, or like, I don't know. I would say if I like stuck to that like style that I got into originally, just like straight up EDM, I wouldn't have, felt a lot of pressure putting out an album. But, just looking at my actual inspirations for me and everything, like putting out your first album is a really big deal. And it's kind of like a permanent stamp on your, journey that you can never take off.
Yeah.
Once you have your debut album, you don't get a second debut album.
Right.
So I considered myself, just not ready for many years. And I, originally felt so much pressure of like, oh my gosh, like it has to be this grand thing with this grand concept and all of these things. And I realized that, that was just way too much pressure to put on myself, especially if it wasn't authentic. And I was just trying to like force something like that because that's what you should do when you make an album. So yeah, not I don't know, not to say too much, but yeah, I just kind of decided to like let all of those expectations I was putting on myself go and just like be
Yeah.
me, which is which I've learned in the past year especially, is like it's way harder to do than you'd imagine. Like to just like be yourself and to decide what you want is it's really tough. So, it's an ongoing thing that I'm still learning, and I want this album to kind of be the first, I don't know,
Yeah, and it's
kind of
like,
reflection of that.
yeah, I mean, compared to like the way it like Silhouettes is the like compared to like your stuff from the last year, it's very I'd say it's like closer on the spectrum of like to closer to like the Seasons EP and just how that was compared to, your singles with Thrive. Like,
Right.
Yeah, I love that you pointed that out. That's a big common theme for the whole album that you'll hear. Like it definitely ties more into like seasons than it does to the singles.
yeah, it seems like I do like that style though, because it's like, super chill, and it's not it kind of shows that like, hey, you don't really need a really fancy drop or anything. It's
Right.
just like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's also something I'm really nervous and kind of self-conscious about with the album too, because it doesn't necessarily have a lot of huge drops, if any, really. But it's just me being like most in tune with like who I am and what I actually am going to be as an artist. And Seasons was my first time ever, attempting something like that, to really, do a artistic project. So it's definitely kind of a continuation of that. And yeah, I'm excited for you guys to hear more.
Super
Yeah, I'm
excited.
absolutely hyped.
Wait.
All right. I guess other than that, is there like anything like, okay, well, what are your like, I guess, dreams for the future rather than just like what is like, inevitable? Like, what do you want to do? Like, where do you
Mhm.
see like the Madnap project going?
Right. Yeah, I feel like my current like take on that question would like always change. Like if you ask me like 2 months from now or
For
2 months
sure.
ago, I
Oh
feel like
yeah,
I'm always in a different place.
that's fair.
But I'm kind of in the mindset right now that I just want to be like the best artist that I can be and not worry, about, can this song get in certain playlists, and, how can this get me to the point of touring and playing festivals and all that stuff. I'm just trying to be more happy with where I am and where I've gotten to, and worry less about, making music that for the sake of like pushing a career forward or something, and just like making stuff that, you know, I don't want to say that I like, because I've never put out anything that I don't like, that's for sure. But just just trying to, be an album artist, which is what I've always wanted to be. I grew up listening to albums, and it's still my favorite way to listen to songs, just like to listen to an album front to finish.
Right.
Oh yeah,
Um, and the thing that excites me most is just like after I finish this long, grueling, intense process of my first album, to like eventually start thinking about my second album, and maybe take a whole different artistic and visual and sonic direction of that, and just like seeing each upcoming album in the future of my life as just like another, opportunity to completely, reinvent myself or something like that. So I
yeah,
think kind of opening this door to being to doing my first album is gonna open the door to a lot of things just as an artist.
heck yeah. I mean, like, yeah, to view them as, I guess, a chance to reinvent yourself. It's like, yeah, I got a chance to try something new. It definitely seems like that's definitely a good way to look at it. You get a chance like to showcase like not just one track that like
Mm,
also doesn't, because I feel like if you put out a single and it's a different genre, people are like a lot easier to not like a single that's in a different genre, because it's like it's this one thing that's different out of all of these. But if you have like a whole
right.
album, it's like, you have a bunch of tracks that are like the same, so they should probably find something in there that they enjoy at least, if you know If
If
not
they
the whole
like the
thing.
overall direction, yeah.
Yeah. If they don't like the whole thing, they're gonna find something in an album that they like. That's usually what it is.
Right.
All right, Victor, you have anything left to say?
I think that his future is definitely bright. I'm super glad to have him on here, and yeah, that's about it.
Hell yeah. All right. I think that's a pretty good way to say it because I think we're reaching the end of the episode here. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show here.
Yeah, thank you guys. This has been a great talk.
Yeah, the boy Madnap. All right. I would clap, but I'm holding a microphone in my hand, so like I can't do that. But so now do you have any like parting words, I guess?
Well, I guess just to you guys, I would say, I'm definitely proud of all of you for kind of taking up this challenge of like doing your own podcast and stuff, and I'm excited to see where it takes you and what you want to do with it, or if in a year or two you want to do something else, like that's fine too. I think it's cool that you guys are, you just went for it. And I hope that it continues to be a good experience for you. And for anyone listening, I just want to say thanks for tuning in. I appreciate that a lot.
Hell yeah.
Beautiful.
All right. Now
Thank you.
here comes the part where you get to plug absolutely everything you want. So
Oh,
yeah, go ahead and do that.
all right. You gotta follow Madnap on Instagram at Madnap Music on Twitter. Facebook page, don't bother. That's obsolete. Venmo at at Madnap, as we talked about earlier, the only real essential plug. PayPal at Madnap Music. Silhouettes out now on Spotify. That's all I got. I don't have a crazy list.
All right. All of these links and I guess whatever more will be in the description of all of like whatever platform you're using.
Yes, and don't send me money. I'm just joking
Okay,
about
yeah.
that.
Yeah. I'll put a disclaimer up maybe or something like
Cash
that.
out.
Yeah, and if you want to check out the rest of our content, our episodes, our links are in the description. Our personal like for each host, like our stuff is in the description as well. And then yeah, so thanks for coming on, and to the audience, thanks for thanks for joining us at this episode again. If you've listened this far, congratulations. You do better than a lot of people.
I do have some final parting words.
Oh, yep. Go for it.
It's pizza time.
Oh, hell yeah. That's exactly where I'm ending it. Later, dudes.